stop and just say, give her feedback. You're the observer. You come in, you've got your notes. What do you think, what do you like about this? Let's start off with, that's a good place to say, as an observer. Well, you know, Michelle, I really liked, yes, I like that.
Oh, I just liked her energy and enthusiasm.
That class was at 9 a.m. Yeah.
And you notice the students, a lot of them didn't have a lot of energy. She had energy, so she kept it going. Yeah. Imagine if she were like them, that class would be really, what else? Yeah, and you can direct them to her. You're giving her feedback. Yeah, Judith.
How you split up the groups, I know we already mentioned that, but I think that's a really good and interesting way to get them work with other people too, and not just with their neighbors, so they don't have to move around.
And as a teacher, I want everyone to talk, but I have the problem of, you know, if I'm going to call on someone, I'm going to call on the person right in front of me because I always look at them. And so I developed this kind of card. Everyone's got a card and got their name on it. I tell them, you know, first day of class, they actually make their own card. It has some information on there for me. And I tell them it's not, when you're called on, it's not because I hate you or I always call on you when you don't know the answer, or it's, everyone speaks in here, everyone participates, and if you're not called on now, it will be 2 minutes from now, so.
And I like how you assign who they have to write about, so it's not just one person, but they also randomly, or maybe not randomly, I don't know.
That was fairly random, yeah, just making sure each group didn't have someone they knew, but other than that.
Timing, you went through very timely, at least it shows that way on the video, but that's a long process task.
I watched the video and students stayed on task in her classroom. So my parentheses, remember time management? Check. I was very happy as the course supervisor, right? I think she gets good grades for that, yeah. She managed the class really well in that respect.
I also like that you showed a personal example in the beginning, and this way the students are encouraged to then share their own personal information as well.
Right. I think that's really important too. And like in the foreign language classroom, I mean, you can go into a science or a math classroom and never have to say a thing about yourself, you know. But in language, it's hard if you don't get, you know, kind of put yourself out there. And so I'm like, hey, you saw pictures of me when I was little. You saw my brother. You saw.
And actually, we edited this down. She actually performs it for them. And that was a very important point, because remember, Lee says you should frame the activity. She goes above and beyond that. She performs it, so they really know what they're supposed to do. Okay? And it was very funny. She actually drew pictures of herself, and so that was a very clear frame. Okay? Yeah.
I like the amount of prep time that the students had to do before they got to the class too, because with any kind of speaking activity, especially for the shy ones, the more prep that they can have, the more practice they can have going into the speaking activity, the more likely that they'll be willing to share.
And if they know they've got to, you're going to be sharing this. Tell me things that you, or say things that you want to share with your group. Don't say anything you don't want to share, or don't bring pictures you don't want to show. Yeah.
Judith.
Do they have questions that they ask each other, or do they just tell each other about their child? Like, for example, did you have pets, or how many siblings?
There's no questioning, but I've thought, and I'm going to end up doing this activity again, like this semester, so eventually we'll talk about how we can make it better, but I think it would be interesting if they could add, like, if someone says, like, the one young lady that hauls off and says, I had 5 dogs. It's like, tell me more about your dogs. What did you do with your dogs? Did you always play with your dogs? Do you have a sister? Did she play with the dogs too? Or, you know, asking questions I think would be more communicative and more rich of an activity. It's like, oh, you play football, me too, tell me about it, you know.
Because they have the answers from their homework, right?
They pretty much, and they have what they want to present there. Like, I want to tell you these 15 sentences, and for better or for worse, that's it.
And that's my biggest criticism. I mean, this looks like a practice, and that's nothing wrong with that. Remember, with practice versus communication. What I think probably happened, I didn't show. We don't have the whole clip, but you have 4 groups. First, I perform, then you perform, then the next person performs. You go around the table, and then they choose. So there is no real negotiated interaction. It's just a reading kind of performance. So it really doesn't make the mark. It does not hit the mark for communicative interaction.